Today we're going to be learning how to solve equations with variables on both sides. We're going to use the steps in this graphic organizer. So our original equation will look like this. After the first step, it'll look like this, which looks like a regular two-step equation. And then after that, it'll look like this, which is a regular one-step equation. So let's go ahead and look at our equation. The very first thing that we want to do is go ahead and draw a line down the middle, down the equal sign, so that we can see both sides of our equation. Now our first step, as we can see, is we're going to go ahead and highlight where the variables are. That way you can see that they're both on opposite sides of the line, on both sides of the equation. So we want to go ahead and take the smaller variable and do the opposite of what is happening. So we're going to be adding or subtracting on our first step. We're not multiplying or dividing, we're adding or subtracting. So between these two, between 7x and between 1x, our 1x is the smaller one. Since it is positive, I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite, which is to subtract it on both sides of my equation. Once you have that set up, you can go ahead and go from left to right and do the math and bring down what you have not used. 7x minus 1x will give me 6x. We have not done anything with the minus 12, so bring it down. Equals. These two canceled out. Bring down the 36. So that goes ahead and brings us to our next step. Now that we have a two-step equation, we're going to go ahead and put all the numbers on one side, and we are still going to be doing the opposite operation. So again, adding or subtracting. If it helps, go ahead and highlight the x so that you know that you have to get rid of the number next to it, okay, on the same side. So that's a minus 12. Again, we're looking at adding or subtracting. So the opposite is 2 plus the 12. Again, highlighting the variable term lets you figure out that it's not the 6 that you want to get rid of first. You want to get rid of the other number, the one that's not highlighted. We do plus 12 on both sides. We haven't done anything with the 6x yet, so 6x. This cancels, and now we have 48. So that brings us to our last step. Now we have a one-step equation. We again want to isolate the variable, leave the variable by itself, and again we're going to do the opposite. And in this case, we're finally going to add or divide, multiply or divide. Since the 6 and the x are both multiplying each other, because they're written next to each other, there's no symbol in between, the opposite of multiplication is to divide. We're going to write it like a fraction. So now this cancels out, and 1x will equal 8. And that is our final answer. Let's go ahead and do 2 more for practice. Go ahead and do 5x plus 2 equals 26 plus 2x. Again, our first step is to draw our line down the equal sign. Let's go ahead and highlight both of our variable terms. And between 5x and 2x, 2x is the smallest one, so I'm going to move this one. Since I'm plusing the 2x, the opposite of that is to subtract the 2x on both sides. 5 minus 2x is 3x. It is very important that you keep those x's together and you don't lose the x. We have not done anything with this, so we bring it down. Bring down the 26, and these two canceled out. I am going to continue to highlight my x term. That way I know that I have to get rid of the plus 2. Not the 3 yet, the plus 2. We're still adding and subtracting. I am plusing a 2, so the opposite of that is to subtract 2 on both sides. Bring down the 3x. This cancels. And now 26 minus 2 is 24. And now I can get rid of the 3. That's the very last step. And since the 3 and the x are both being multiplied, the opposite of that is to divide. So I divide by 3 on both sides. So 1x will equal 8. Okay, let's go to another example. Okay. Now once again, I'm going to highlight my variable terms and draw a line down the equal sign. Now in this case, the x does not have a number in front of it. When you run across that, go ahead and write a 1 in front of it. It has an invisible 1, so go ahead and write it in there so that you can visualize that better. So now you can compare between -1 and 3. The negative will always be the smaller when compared to a positive. So -1 is our smaller term. Since it's -1x, the opposite of that is to add the 1x on both sides. Make sure that you're doing the same on both sides. This cancels. We haven't done anything with the 6. Bring it down. We can bring down the -18. And we can do this math. 3x plus 1x. That means you have 4 x's. Go ahead and again highlight the variable term. That way you know you're not getting rid of the 4 just yet. That stays together. We're getting rid of this -18. Now be very careful. I know that you're adding the 4x, so your first instinct might be to subtract the -18, but you have to look at the sign in front of the -18. That's a negative number. You want to do the opposite of that, which is to add the 18 on both sides. 6 plus 18 will be 24 equals, this cancels out, bring down the 4x. Make sure that you're keeping everything organized. And our last step is to divide by 4. Since the 4 and the x are being multiplied, you do the opposite, which is to divide. So 1x will equal 6. Okay, now I'm going to show you another way in which you might see these problems. You might see them with symbols. Now whenever you come across this, all you have to do is just write out the equation yourself and then to solve it. So let's look here. I have 3 negative x's, so that's just 3 negative 3x. You count up how many positive ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's just plus 10 equals of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Negative 8. And now you just go ahead and solve like you would any other equation. Draw the line down the middle. Highlight your variable terms and compare to see which one is smallest. Negative 3x is smallest, so we want to do the opposite of that, which is to add the 3x on both sides. This cancels. We bring down the 10. 5x plus 3x will equal 8x. And bring down the -8. We still go ahead and highlight our variable term. That way I know I'm not getting rid of this 8. I'm getting rid of this other 8 next to it. I'm subtracting 8. So the opposite of that is to add 8 on both sides. So now we have 18 equals 8x. And now the 8 and the x are being multiplied, so the opposite of that is to divide. Divide by 8. So 1x will equal 2.25. And it is okay that some of these do give us decimals or fractions. On the next lesson, we will be doing equations with rational numbers. So you will see those fractions and decimals. Thank you.